Hey, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate you all tuning in. So I haven't done a live in forever. Was going to go live a little earlier. Okay, no, just making sure everything's good. Because, like I said, first live in forever on my channel. Going to talk about the NFL. You see that from the description. I'm going to go ahead and look at week one. Talk about week two. Got to give you my picks. Also got to review the picks that I had. But yeah. So I'm gonna let some people get up in here. If you're in here, say what's up. Let me know. Greatly appreciate it. I'm just making sure that it's live on all of my channels. Okay, looks like no there. Okay. Which I mean, if you're trying to watch it on Facebook, I obviously have to do something a little different. Because Facebook is weird like that. Okay. All right, so I'm live on my personal page. It's just that. Okay. All right. Oh, hey, Jory, what's up? Appreciate you. So, yeah, we're going to talk about some NFL. We're going to go over my picks. We're just going to have some fun. And obviously, you guys tuning in can let me know, your opinion, stuff you want to talk about. It's all good. So, let's see. Yeah, just like I said, just making sure it's all good. So I know YouTube's good. I know Twitch is good. Anybody in here from Twitch, what's going on? Let me make sure. All right, so we're good there. Okay, let's just get into it. Um, Facebook, it is what it is. We'll figure that out. But I know Jory will touch on your team, the Titans in this one. Like I said, week one, as I review my picks, kind of break down some of the games a little bit, and then week two, give you some preview as well as my picks for that. I will say, last year, picking against the spread, mainly over on, Integrity Sports Network, where you can find me over there when I'm not here most days, was horrific. I had a terrible season. After week one, just the tease, off to a decent start. I will say that. And I felt like for an opening week, sure, you had some sloppy play. Some teams didn't necessarily play as well as I would have thought. But I thought overall, there were some entertaining games. And for a week one, I'll take that. Because obviously, a lot of these teams coming off of the preseason, it's going to take them maybe a week or two to really, hit on all cylinders. I mean, some teams, like I said, came out, looked great. Like the Niners looked really good Monday night. The Chargers, I felt like looked pretty good. So, yeah. Now, before we get into that, like I said, first time live in a while in here. I want to do more of these, especially during the NFL season. So I feel like, you might see me pop up different times. So I want to try like different times out to see which kind of works better for you guys. So I want to say like at least once a week, I want to do a live to like review the previous week as well as look at the week ahead, probably like Tuesday, Wednesday. And then obviously the watch alongs and the play by plays are coming back. I'll try to do as many Patriots games as I can. Like the 1 o'clock games are tough, but I may just end up, going live. Even if it's like 1:15, the game's already started, but I may just pop up on here anyway, or some other games that may catch my attention. So, like, definitely make sure you look out for all of that as well. You see in the description, link to the Tumblr. check me out over there for the blog, everything like that. Like I said, Integrity Sports Network. I'm on there Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, Friday nights with Jory, who's in the chat. So make sure you, basically 7 o'clock on those nights. You can, well, actually 8 o'clock. Find me over there. But yeah. So go ahead, get into this. Like I said, been excited to do this for a while, but now with the NFL back, I feel like I really got to get into it. Titans made me angry for an entire half. Yes, like I said, we'll definitely touch on them in a little bit. But I definitely get what you're saying. But look, week one, you go into week one optimistic with everything. Win or lose, I think there's certain things you can take from each game, each week to build off of, and some things that you can obviously point out to that your team needs to do better. Angry, sorry. No, I understand what you were trying to say. So like I said, when I get to the Titans game, we'll talk about that a little bit more. Overall, I went 8-8 against the spread, and to be honest with you, 3 of those losses were basically because of the half point, and that was the Bills 6.5. They won by 6, so obviously I didn't get that one correct. The Texans were 2.5. They won by 2, and then which was the third one? Which one was it? The Dolphins. I had minus a 3.5. They won by 3. So those are 3 games right there. I could have went 11-5, which at that point I'd have been over the moon. But season started Thursday night. You had the Ravens and the Chiefs. Like you see, I got that one wrong. I took the Ravens plus 3. I thought that was a game that they needed to win for their mentality, their psyche after the AFC title game. They played well in spots, but I do think overall, looking at them, they were okay. Could they be better? Yes. There are some things that I've seen with them that have lingered from last season that I would like to see them get better at before I can sit here and actually see them as a team that could win it all. Do they look like a playoff team? Yes. But they've looked like that for years now. It's kind of that time where they need to be more than that. The Chiefs went through the whole pregame, all the emotions around that, winning, the Super Bowl this past February, the banner and all that came out. I thought they looked good. Mahomes in the offense, you can already see why they targeted Xavier Worthy. Remember, they made the trade with Buffalo to move up to draft Worthy, and you understand why. That guy just has speed for days. He, got in the open field, and he was just running by Ravens defenders. So that's obviously something that teams are going to have to be prepared for now when they go up against Kansas City. When Worthy is on the field, you got to make sure that you pay attention to him. And that's to go along with Rashee Rice, who is part of the offense. Obviously, they had Watson as well. They still have Kelsey. So it does add to the problems that the Chiefs offense can pose. And like I said, the Ravens witnessed that firsthand. But the game did come down to, likely coming down in the back of the end zone, toe on the line, on the back line, out of bounds. That's how the game ended. So for an opening night, thrilling finish, I can't complain. I was thoroughly entertained by that game. Friday night, now Packers-Eagles, I did get that one. Eagles minus 2.5. I got that one correct. A lot of the attention on that game is obviously, playing in Brazil, playing in a soccer stadium, not necessarily everybody being pumped about that, which, like I said, I can understand that. But then the NFL is going to keep doing this. I'm not mad at them for it. I understand it. They want to be a global league. The best way to be a global league, play globally. They do it in Europe every season. They tried South America and Brazil. Can they learn some things from it? Sure. The whole soccer field thing, even though I've, made the point before that, I mean, let's not act like world class athletes don't play on soccer fields, but, the field conditions were what they were. And that's become one of the big stories out of that game, even though we had a Super Bowl a couple of years ago where we had fans complaining about the condition of the field, and that was right here in America. So for some fans to necessarily dog Brazil for that, sure, if you want. But like I said, you can point to plenty of stadiums here in the NFL in America that are subpar. MetLife Stadium, guys tear their knee up on that field year after year. And that's New York. All the money that the league has, that field is atrocious. We've had fields in the past where, Candlestick, back when the Niners used to play there, it was a baseball stadium that they were playing football on. You were going from grass to infield dirt back to grass. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people criticize that field, obviously, but like, let's not act like it's a reason for the league to stop playing international games. They're going to keep doing it. But anyway, I mean, the biggest story of that is obviously the Jordan Love injury, and it was unfortunate. Even though that had nothing to do with the field, he got tangled up with a couple of defenders. One guy got him low, other guy kind of hit him another way, leg flexed weird. What did they say, like sprained MCL. They didn't put him on IR or anything like that, so they clearly think it's something he can play on maybe a couple of weeks down the line. They also didn't call anybody to bring them in. They look like they're set on Malik Willis, which I'll talk more about that when we look at week 2, but that's going to be interesting when I get to my pick on the Packers game. Third game. Now, Jory, you mentioned the Titans made you angry for an entire half. I did take the Titans plus 3.5 against the Bears. And look, you see the score of the game. A lot of people saw the Will Levis interception. A lot of, narratives where I guess continued about Will off of last season. And some new people are chiming in, of course. Did he have the best game? No. You can say that he didn't have like a complete, well played game, but you do see improvements within the Titans. Look, the Titans defense, especially the front, I was thoroughly impressed. That's something you build off of. Tony Pollard and the way that they were able to open up running lanes for him, that's something you can build on. I know Callahan made comments after the game about Will Levis's play, which, look, it doesn't seem like Will Levis is necessarily the type of player that's going to be, angered by that. I'm sure he'll use that as motivation to play better next week. Because, I'm assuming Callahan understands that Will Levis can handle him talking about him in public and not fear that he's going to, completely like fall off a cliff or anything like that. So I don't have a problem with him talking about it like that. But we also have to look at the other side. Caleb Williams, a lot of hype. Obviously, first game of the regular season. He did not look good at all. So, you can credit the Titans defense. Like I said, the front was really good. You also have to look at Caleb Williams. Maybe he was too hyped for the game and, maybe didn't make the plays that he should have. So I will be interested to see him week 2 if he bounces back and plays better. But that game was won by the Bears defense, their special teams. So I get that the Titans are 0-1. Like I said, Jory, they made you angry for a half. But there's stuff to build off of that you now look at week 2 and be like, if Will Levis, doesn't throw the interception, obviously when he was, in a sack going down and try to like shovel it out to the boundary to a wide receiver. Like that's something that obviously with more experience, he would know not to do that. He probably knows that already right now. It's probably being hammered into his head. Don't make plays like that. You take the sack there, fine. Or if you're gonna shovel it out, like shovel it a couple of yards into the grass so that you don't get like the intentional grounding. You just get the incomplete and you fight another down. You know, he did show his ability with his legs, but with that, you got to be careful not to take unnecessary hits. But yeah, so the Bears got the win there. Titans defense looked good. Steelers Falcons. I won the Falcons minus 3.5. You know, I was under the belief Kirk Cousins upgrade over Desmond Ritter. There's plenty of pieces on offense that are good. Kirk Cousins will know how to use them. Steelers had all these issues at quarterback, and Falcons are playing at home where they're normally really good. Well, what did we see? Fields, engineered. Fields engineered some field goal drives, which, he looked okay. He still had the issue holding the ball a little bit too long in a couple of plays, but they got the win. So I'm sure Tomlin, is not going to hammer him too much. I think he's going to start again in week 2 because Russ, even though Russ wasn't going to play, was in uniform, but, that's Russ. Like, Russ is going to do whatever. What got me was how the Falcons allowed TJ Watt to just completely destroy their offense. Like, that dude was everywhere. And look, I get it. TJ Watt is very skilled. He's a very talented player. He's, going to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. But just try something against him. Double team him. Force somebody else in that line to make a play. Like, I didn't understand that. They left, I think it was McGarry out on the island most of the game, and TJ Watt was cooking them. Yeah, Bijan Robinson, okay. I felt like, well, this is probably attributed to TJ Watt. The Falcons' offense looked terrible. Like, it looked like an offense they probably would have ran, I guess would have produced the same if Desmond Ritter was there. And that's not something you want to hear when you paid all that money to Kirk Cousins. Now, I do think a lot of the stuff about, I saw somewhere, and it was like a segment about overreactions. They were like, Michael Penix should start week 2. I'd say calm down on that. And I get it. Michael Penix is with more performances like this, he'll be closer to seeing the field. I just feel like Kirk is a veteran. It was his first game in a while, coming from the Achilles injury. I think he's allowed a mulligan on this one. Problem is their schedule doesn't get any easier looking at next week when they have to face the Eagles on Monday night. So there's a good chance that the Falcons, not to give away the pick, but there's a good chance that the Falcons could struggle again next week, and it wouldn't necessarily be all Kirk's fault. Like I said, we'll touch on that game in a little bit. So for the rest of these, I'll probably go through them a lot quicker than the first few. All right, Jaguars and the Dolphins. I had the Dolphins minus 3.5. Like I said, the Dolphins won by 3, so I ended up losing that one. The Jags looked good for a quarter, and then the Dolphins slowly walked them down the rest of the game, and the Jags offense kind of stalled. Some of it was drops. Obviously, the Travis Etienne fumble when they was going in for a score that obviously would have changed the tide of the game doesn't help, but it kind of looked like the Jaguars last season. And I don't know if my position on Trevor Lawrence has changed much, if any. Like, this kind of is what it is right now with him. And once again, I'll be looking to see week 2. Can he turn it around and actually put together a performance where I'm like, okay, there's a guy who, if you want to do power rankings or whatever, and you wanted to put him in your top 10, you could say, all right, cool. Because right now he just looks like an average quarterback, and for Jacksonville, that's not good enough. I don't think their defense is all that good. I think offensively, they're all right. But if they're going to make any noise, they need Trevor Lawrence to elevate his game, and by that, elevate the players around him. I'm just not seeing that right now. For the Dolphins, like I said, first quarter, I wasn't really impressed with Tua, and none of those guys either. But then they started finding, Tyreek Hill openings downfield, and then that's when they looked like the early season Dolphins last season. So I feel like they'll be fine. And then obviously we learned about the whole Tyreek Hill stuff before the game, which I guess just to touch on for a second here. Obviously, you see the body cam footage and it's disturbing. I feel like, this might be one of the few times I might give Tyreek Hill a compliment, but I feel like the way he handled it, I was perfectly okay with, where he was like, not all cops are like this, and he likes to do work with the police because of the community and you need them and all this stuff. And I was like, that's a good answer. I think today he spoke on it again, and the officers who are on like administrative leave, he was like he wants them gone, which once again, because of what he went through, and to a lesser extent, I guess, Calais Campbell and Jonnu Smith, who were just pulling up as they were seeing this to try to get some answers, and they were dealt with in a certain way that did not make the police look good. So once again, it's one of those issues that certain pockets of the country don't like to talk about, while others, namely ones who resemble me, these are the things that come up and happen too often that lead to a lot of the social justice stuff that, once again, pockets of the country don't like to talk about or hear about. As stuff like this continues to happen, that's why you keep getting that. Because once again, I forgot to mention this about the Thursday night game. I don't know if you were on social media when that game was happening, but the outrage I saw over the simple fact that people thought they were skipping the national anthem was wild. Like, some of the comments were just, yeah. So wrap all that up with the Tyreek Hill stuff. I think some of y'all need to chill and calm down with this outrage over certain things that happen in the sports world. I may have to do another video to talk more about that, but we'll keep it moving. All right, so Patriots Bengals. Now, obviously, I have the games listed by the time that they played. Otherwise, I'd have left this one for last so I could talk about it a bit more. But I will say, Patriots plus 8.5 against the Bengals. I obviously took the Patriots. That wasn't even a homer pick, to be honest with you, because I explained it that the Bengals start slow. I feel like all the talk about Gerard Mayo and whether or not he was good, I feel like at worst, the defense was going to be able to hold the Bengals in check, that the offense would score enough to keep it close. I did think the Bengals were going to win, but I thought the Patriots were going to cover. So then watching the game, I was really impressed by the game plan from not only Gerard Mayo, DeMarcus Covington, the new defensive coordinator, who was there and they was elevated once Gerard Mayo moved from defensive coordinator to head coach, Alex Van Pelt, and the other offensive staff. I thought they were brilliant. Offensively, they, I guess, kept it simple, but they realized early that they could be physical with Cincinnati, and they kind of stuck with that. Like, the passes were, like I said, little quick curl routes, slants, stuff like, crossing routes, stuff like that. Jacoby Brissett drop back, hit the plant foot, get rid of it. Although there were some plays where he did run and get key first downs, which I was not planning on seeing. But I guess outside the defense, like, the offensive star would have to be Ramondre Stevenson. He ran for 120 yards, 118 of those after contact. And it was a Ramondre Stevenson game that, like, you watch it and you understand why he wants to be a bell cow, number one back. This is like a story from last season. Like, he went and talked about how he wants to be a guy that you give the ball to 20 whatever times and just no questions about it. Because since he's been on the Patriots, he's had to share time with Damian Harris and Zeke Elliott last year. This season, he's clear-cut number one. Gibson's the clear-cut number two with Hasty as your change of pace running back. And more performances like this, I think the Patriots, even though I have the Patriots over 4.5 wins for the season, a performance like this is why. And defensively, like I said, they played really well. They kept Ja'Marr Chase in check, even though Ja'Marr Chase kept Ja'Marr Chase in check on a lot of routes where he was kind of going half speed, it seemed like. So, and for the Bengals, like I said, they start slow. I'm not going to overreact necessarily, but were some troubling things. Like, the O-line looked not too good. The running game wasn't good. So we'll have to see how the Bengals bounce back and recover from that. But keep going. Texans, Colts. I had the Texans minus 2.5, but they only won by 2, 29-27. For the Colts, Anthony Richardson, you know who? Okay, so Anthony Richardson, what he is, he's a guy who will pop up, on TikTok or YouTube short for some great play that he makes. But then when you look at the overall play, you'll be like, really uneven. Because, yes, the 60-something yard throw that he made for the first touchdown, great play. Stumbled in the pocket, sidestep, and just threw it up. I mean, a lot of that you could say the wide receiver, but yeah, it was a great throw. But, outside of that, it's a lot of inaccurate throws in the intermediate. He was, 9 for 19. So he's like boom or bust as a quarterback. He'll either hit the deep ball and score a touchdown, or he'll struggle with everything else underneath it. So that's obviously something that the offensive coaches there will have to coach him up on. For Houston, the Joe Mixon addition looks like a godsend for them. He gives them a great balance. He's a physical runner. The big thing was when he was at Cincinnati, it obviously looked like they used him less and less as the offense turned to Burrow and those wide receivers. He became less important. Now he's in Houston where, yes, the Texans have Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell, guys like that. But, with DeMeco Ryans coming from San Francisco, they want to run the ball. So I think Joe Mixon's going to have a good year. I'm kind of mad I didn't get him in any of my fantasy teams. I don't even think he's available in any of them. But I feel like Joe Mixon is in for a big year. So, yeah, Texans get the win. Joe Mixon looks great. Nothing more I can really say about that. Vikings, Giants. Vikings, 1.5 point favorite. They dominated the Giants. Then again, it's the Giants. Whatever issues you remember from the Giants last year, they still have them. Daniel Jones at quarterback, ain't it? If I'm Brian Daboll, and certain people are going to be looking at my job if this continues, I tell Drew Lock, be ready. I don't know when I'll turn to you, but be ready. It's probably going to happen a lot sooner than maybe you were thinking. I mean, Drew Lock probably went there thinking he had a chance to start from week 1. But I don't know. I don't know how much more Giants fans could take of it. I don't know how much Daboll can withstand it with his job on the line. I assume Drew Lock will be there probably before mid-October. For the Vikings, Sam Darnold looked really well. One of the reasons why I went the Vikings in this one, I thought Sam Darnold would be okay. He was more than okay. Like the Giants made Sam Darnold look like Brock Purdy. Like, that's what they did. So with these two teams, obviously it's how much do we read into it for the Vikings with as bad as the Giants are? And for the Giants, are they just going to be just as bad, if not even worse, than they were last season? All right, next, Panthers, Saints. Another game I was way off on. I took the Panthers plus 3.5 only because I was like, why not? Like this is a game that if I blindfolded myself or flipped a coin, whatever it landed on, I was going to go with. But then obviously watching it, that was just dumb. The Saints looked really good. Obviously with the Saints, you can't read too much like into it most of the time because they're the Saints. And when they face better competition, they usually look like a mess, especially offensively. But yeah, for the Panthers, I don't know how optimistic Panthers fans will feel this year. I just don't know. Like, I don't know what I should feel about Bryce Young. I don't know about the new coach. It's his first game, so I give him a pass. But I feel like some people are going to start trying to throw out there that Bryce Young's a bust. I just don't know. They may be justified in saying that, but for me, it's like I just don't know if it's the organization or if some of this is actually that Bryce Young maybe isn't as good as people thought he was coming out of Alabama. It's almost like the Justin Fields stuff when he was in Chicago. We looked at Justin Fields at Ohio State and was like, that guy can play. He gets to Chicago. Chicago is a mess around him. And people were like, he can't play. He's not that good. Obviously, he's in Pittsburgh now, but, you just know how his Chicago tenure went. And I just hope that that's not what happens to Bryce Young in Carolina, although that's what it looks like it's going to turn into. But anyway, let's move on. The Cardinals and the Bills, I had the Bills 6.5. They won by 6. Lost that one. I thought the Cardinals looked all right. They looked better than I actually thought they were going to look week one. Kyler Murray made some plays and then missed some plays. Most notably, the Marvin Harrison Jr. play down the right sideline. Marvin Harrison was out there throwing a picnic. Nobody around him. And for whatever reason, Kyler Murray didn't see him. So you draft Marvin Harrison like that, Marvin Harrison, the talent that he is, you need to target him more. I think it's targeted 3 times. That's not going to work. 1, Marvin Harrison's too talented for that. And 2, I got Marvin Harrison on my fantasy team, and I did it because I assumed Kyler Murray would just throw it up to him. So, Kyler, get your stuff together. Get him the ball. So George said he will have to force his way out of Carolina. And look, you hate to see that, but that's probably what he has to do. Like the owner, we already know Tepper is whatever. The coach with Canales. I mean, it's too soon to tell like what kind of coach he is, but it just seems like another season of dysfunction headed his way. Now, if you're Bryce Young, I guess to go with the comment here, if you could force your way out, where would you go? And looking at situations around the league, like where would he think that he has a great opportunity to start next season? Probably on a team looking to change quarterbacks. Would he go to the Giants? Would he want to go to the Giants? I'm sure Daboll would love to have Bryce Young right now. Jory says Pittsburgh. Look. Sure. Although it seems like Pittsburgh's committed to Justin Fields long-term, I guess. But we'll see how they feel second half of the season. I mean, if he got there, would he be better? Yeah, you would think so. I mean, for him, I don't know, would he want that division? Well, yeah, I mean, facing the Ravens defense, the Browns defense. I mean, outside of that, like, I'm trying to think of other teams that quarterback situations are a complete mess right now. I mean, if he thinks like Stafford could be done in a year or two, would he go to the Rams to get with McVay? Because behind Stafford, they have what? Is like John Wofford or something still there? Raiders? Okay, that's interesting. Playing for Antonio Pierce. You have Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. It's not bad. The defense is in that division. The Chargers defense, you feel like will probably get better under Harbaugh. The Chiefs defense is pretty good, and Broncos defense. Raiders could be an option. They have Aiden O'Connell. I feel like they're probably 1 foot in, 1 foot out with him. Whether or not they actually think he's somebody they can use in the future. Gardner Minshew is basically new age Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's probably not going to stick anywhere for too long. He'll probably bounce around the rest of his career. So I think that's a good choice with the Raiders. Yeah, I mean Seahawks. You got Geno Smith, but you also have Sam Howell. So Sam Howell, same boat there. Yeah, I think those two spots wouldn't be too bad. So let's see here. Hold on. I just realized that. All right, so I forgot to share the stream to my actual Facebook page. Hold on a second. It's not really letting me do it. Why not? Oh. I'd say the Jets, but I don't wish that on anybody. I mean, yeah, I don't want him with. Well, I feel like if he went to the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers wasn't there, then Hackett probably wouldn't be there. I think Hackett's horrible. But whatever, I'll figure that out later. So yeah, I could agree with you on that one. Then you said anybody. I mean, yes, that's kind of the main point. Any situation is better than Carolina, but I'm thinking like for Bryce Young, I'd like to see him go somewhere where he would play to actually show if he's good or not. I don't want him to go somewhere where he's sitting behind a guy for like 3-4 years. But let's keep going. That was Bills. Charge. Oh, Bills. Sorry. I started with the Cardinals and then just went off. So Bills, I was encouraged by Josh Allen's play. I do think for Josh Allen, I know when he was like early in his career and he ran a lot, people were like, he won't last if he plays that way. I kind of think that's just part of who Josh Allen is. If you try to confine him to make him a pocket passer, I think you get a lesser version of him. Like he has to be free to kind of just do whatever. Hit guys downfield. If he wants to take off, run people over. Like that's just who Josh Allen is. I mean, he's a big guy, so he can take a beating more than, let's say, a Bryce Young. Like Bryce Young's like 4'8". If he takes off running, like you're sitting there clenching your teeth, hoping he doesn't turn into dust if he gets hit. Like Josh Allen can truck people. Obviously, don't want him doing it too often because he is the franchise player. But I thought Josh Allen looked really good. I one of those who picked the Bills to like miss the playoffs. If he plays more like that, once again, he played against the Cardinals. Don't know if you could say the Cardinals are a really good defense, but I was encouraged by them. Chargers beat the Raiders. I had the Chargers -3, so I got that one right. So as you can tell, for the left side of the graphic, 3-5, right side 5-3. So I did better with the 4 o'clock and the late game on Sunday. Chargers, if they're all you need to know about the Chargers, Harbaugh ball is back in full effect. They ran it really well. They, obviously because of that, Herbert's numbers weren't great, but he played well. So I just wonder, is this something we see every week where they are obviously run heavy? It's just that with the talent that Herbert is, or that he potentially could be, do they lean a little bit more to the passing game as we go along? Or is this just what it is? Like they're going to try to run the ball for like 150 yards, and with Herbert, he's going to throw for like low 200s to like high 100, like 170 to like 215 type area. Won't be the flashiest team, but that's Harbaugh. Like that's literally what Michigan was. Only thing is that Herbert, you would say, is better than JJ McCarthy, but this is Harbaugh ball. And, Chargers fans, I feel like you should feel good about that. The Raiders, the offense wasn't, too good. They only scored 10 points. And that's obviously something that's going to be monitored all season because Minshew has the job. I don't know how much, like I said, I don't know how much of a threat Aiden O'Connell is to him. I'm rooting for Antonio Pierce to do well, because the Raiders have had their own issues. Like, I'm rooting for an Antonio Pierce story to be like a D'Amico Ryan story in Houston last year. That's what I'm rooting for with him this season. Just not the best start. We had the Seahawks beat Bo Nix and the Broncos up in Seattle. 5.5 point spread. The Seahawks covered that one. Seahawks defense seemed to get to Bo Nix pretty easily, and Seahawks offensively, Geno Smith used his legs a little bit. I mean, Geno's getting up there now. Geno's like 34 years old. So when he took off on that touchdown run, he looked a little slower than I remembered him, but he got enough juice to get into the end zone. Look, I normally root for Geno Smith. I love the redemption story from him. Being a bust, not good with the Jets, gets to Seattle, had some success early on last season, not so much. I'm hoping for a bounce back year from him this year. Obviously, once we get to week 2, Seahawks face my Patriots, so I'm rooting for Geno to throw like 4 or 5 picks. But week 1, fine. Kenneth Walker played well as the running back. They have that dual threat with he and Charbonnet. The Broncos, work in progress. I mean, as you can tell, a lot of these rookie quarterbacks that got starts didn't play overly well. So I think Bo Nix was better than Caleb Williams. We haven't touched on Jayden Daniels yet, but we'll get to him shortly. So there were some things Bo Nix did well, some things he didn't. First game, Cowboys and, that team up in Cleveland. I foolishly went Browns -2.5. That was mainly because my questions about the Cowboys. Not like I was sold on, the QB in Cleveland, but Cowboys defense was dominant. Micah Parsons got after him. I mean, anybody on defense kind of got to the quarterback there who struggled yet again. This is year 3. Nothing looks like it's changed. It looks like it's gotten even worse with him. But, that's for them to deal with. Dak got his money literally hours before the game. And, the Cowboys came out and played well. So the Cowboys did what they were supposed to do. Cleveland, you're left wondering. Which perfect lead into the Commanders and the Bucs, because the Bucs, Baker Mayfield, the guy that used to be there, played well, while once again the quarterback that's in Cleveland now stinks yet again. I don't know if they kept him and maybe put the team that's currently up there around Baker Mayfield. I think they'd be better off, but once again, Baker's down in Tampa Bay. Seems like it's the perfect fit for him. He has a really good wide receiver group there. He's got Godwin. He's got Mike Evans. I root for Baker Mayfield. I like his confidence. Like, he's an overly confident guy. I respect that. He's also a guy that you don't see necessarily like show up teammates and stuff like that. He does his thing. He's trying to lift everybody up to move the same direction as him. So I thought it was a perfect week 1 for them. And even for the Commanders, I think there was it might have been Discord, but I had a bold prediction that Jayden Daniels will have a better rookie season than Caleb Williams. Now, obviously, after looking at this past week, it looks pretty obvious that Jayden Daniels, because he had a better Sunday than Caleb Williams. But I like Jayden Daniels. He made some throws. He made some plays with his legs. I feel like that's something you can count on week in and week out. The Commanders' defense wasn't all that good. They brought in a defensive head coach. So Dan Quinn, Like you might want to get that fixed because you don't want to be Brandon Staley, where you're a defensive guy and your defense stinks. Because defensive coaches already have it kind of tough in this era getting head coaching jobs. So you don't want to be a defensive guy and your defense stink because they will quicker stick with an offensive guy than a defensive guy. Like we've seen that around the league. So once again, only week 1. Let's see. So we got Sunday night. You had the Lions and the Rams. I had the Lions -4.5. They got that done. I thought I just like how physical Detroit is. And look, they got Dan Campbell. The man gets the job. He's talking about biting kneecaps. So you knew they weren't going to be some type of finesse team. So I felt like with them, I thought their overtime drive was a perfect snapshot of what they want to be. Line up, hand it off to Montgomery or Gibbs, and just play smash mouth football, which obviously makes it easier on Goff because he's getting the play action and all that. Jameson Williams looked good. He had the burst and everything like that. So I feel like Lions fans, keep him upright, keep him healthy. I think Jameson Williams could have a big season. So I really liked what I saw from them. The Rams, Stafford is a good quarterback in this league. Puka Nacua got banged up. He's going to miss a couple of weeks, I believe. Or he's going to be questionable for the next couple of weeks or something like that. But I just feel like the Lions are just the better team right now, especially in Detroit. Then Monday night, Niners, Jets. I took the Niners in the 4.5. Got that one right. Niners just beat up the Jets, plain and simple. Jordan Mason, almost forgot his first name. Jordan Mason fills in for McCaffrey, who we learned early in the day wasn't going to play, was going to be inactive. They didn't miss a beat in the running game. Mason was running through wide open holes created by the offense. The Jets defense, which is supposed to be their, the better side of the ball for them, looked lost. So the Niners are beating them with the running game. Brock Purdy, whenever he dropped back, whether it was play action or just straight dropping back, had all day in the pocket and was just finding guys with ease, whether it was zone, man, whatever. He was finding wide open guys. So I don't know, is it more the Jets defense not coming into play week 1? Or the Niners offense better than maybe some people want to give them credit for? Because Brock Purdy doesn't have everybody's support. Some people still need to see more from him, even though I feel like he's played so well early on in his career that I would say he's a top half of the league quarterback. Some would say he could be a top 5 quarterback right now. Probably save that for another video, quarterback tiers and everything. But he played well. The team played well. The defense was good. I did hear some people on TV today talking about how Aaron Rodgers looked good throwing the ball. It was all right. For me, the 4th down play with Garrett Wilson beats the defender on the slant, and Aaron Rodgers throws it low and behind him, which allowed the defender to get back into the play. I feel like that's what it was like all night. The Jets offense was just a little off all night. And like I said, part of that was because of the Niners defense. So the week started with a pretty good opener and ended with a bit of a dud as the Niners, like I said, dominated the Jets. I will say I watched the Manning cast on Monday night, and it made it way more entertaining. So like I said, we went 8-8 last week. So let's go ahead and look at week 2. Here we go. So obviously at the bottom you see week 1 was 8-8, 8-8 overall. But obviously that's an update with each week. So this week we have some interesting games as well. I have the Bills as a 2.5-point dog going up against the Dolphins. And look, once again, it's an early season game in Miami. Why am I taking the Bills to cover? I don't know. I just think the Bills will go up against Miami, and I just expect to see more of Josh Allen running around and everything like that. And I just have a weird feeling about this one. I don't even think that there's like any analytical reason for it, but I just feel like the Bills are going to go down to Miami and get the job done. Obviously, the key is going to be what does the Bills defense do against Tua with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and all that. Obviously, that's going to be the Dolphins' path to winning mostly every week. I believe Mostert's hurt, so they're down one of the running backs I like to use, but they have Achane who's there. Like I said, I just have a feeling the Bills will get it done. Got the Cowboys. I got them -6.5 over the Saints. I I'm not going to read too much in the Saints week one because, like I said, the Panthers are just a mess. Not expecting the Saints to put up 30, 40 points this week. I think the Cowboys defense will bring them crashing back to earth, have their way with the Saints offense. And I feel like the Cowboys offense will obviously put up more than 10 points against the Saints defense. So home opener as well for the Cowboys. I expect the defense to fly around even a little bit more. Would not be surprised if there's a pick six involved in that game with the Cowboys. But giving the Cowboys -6.5. I guess maybe my biggest underdog pick, I believe. Yeah, I've got the Bucks +7.5, traveling to Detroit to face the Lions. So I do think the Lions win the game, but I feel like this is a game that Baker will make some plays. The Lions defense is good. I see this being like a 6-point win for the Lions. I think 7.5 is a big number. It's actually gone up because yesterday the number was only +7. It's now 7.5. Might be another crazy feeling, but I just think Baker Mayfield's going to make some plays with his arm and keep the game closer than some would think. Now, obviously, they're going to have to deal with the Lions' physicality up front, the ability to run the ball with Montgomery, slow that down, force Goff to make more plays with his arm. Then yeah, maybe they can even pull the upset and win it outright. But I'll take the Bucks in the 7.5. All right, so we got Jaguars, Browns. I'll take the Jaguars -3. Like I said, Jaguars didn't impress me week one. The Browns definitely didn't impress me week one. So something's got to give here. I mean, I'd be foolish not to say I don't trust Trevor Lawrence over, QB1 in Cleveland. So that alone, give me the Jags in the 3. Got the Niners -6.5 over the Vikings. The Niners look like the most complete team in football right now, which I did forget to do a power ranking graphic. So week 2, we'll go over games and give you power rankings each week. But yeah, Niners right now would be the number 1 team in football for me. I think the Vikings were helped by the Giants being as bad as they are last week. They're not going to do a lot of that against the Niners this week. So I kind of think the Niners win this one comfortably. But hey, maybe Sam Darnold, going back to his own stomping grounds. Remember Shanahan called him Steve Young behind Purdy. So maybe he taps into that and makes it closer, but I'll take the Niners. I got the Chargers -5.5 against the Panthers. To be honest with you, until the Panthers win a game and look competitive and look like a real football team, I'm probably going to be picking any team that they play against to cover. So I expect more of the same from the Chargers. Run the ball, physical. Herbert be efficient and make plays. So give me the Chargers. Now this game, Ravens 8.5-point line did go a bit back and forth because I was like, that seems like a number that's teasing you to take the Raiders because maybe the Raiders keep it within a touchdown. But ultimately, I'm going to go with the Ravens -8.5. I just feel like this is a game that they should take out frustrations after losing to the Chiefs the way that they did. It's in Baltimore. I feel like this is going to be one of those games. Lamar Jackson goes off, has this really good game, and Ravens fans are going to try to throw it in your face and all this kind of stuff. But I feel like it's the right opponent for them. So give me the Ravens in the 8.5. I've got the Patriots plus 3.5. Now, once again, this is a game that I don't know. Maybe the Seahawks win it. But I do think if there's one thing you're going to say about the Patriots this season, I think they'll be prepared and they're going to make it tough on some teams. Now, to be honest with you, I do think the Patriots actually win this game. I feel like Ramondre Stevenson will have a repeat performance from week one, run the ball really well. I think, they'll allow the passing game to be featured a little bit more. Because like I said, Jacoby Brissett made some big throws in that game, but the game was more about the running game of Ramondre Stevenson. I think we get more of a balance in this one. And I think Jacoby Brissett gets the Patriots to 2-0. Which I don't know how many of you had that on your bingo card, but yeah, I just have a feeling on that one. I do think the Seahawks will play well. I do want to see, Kenneth Walker and those guys, what they do against the Patriots defense. The Patriots defense held Zach Moss in check with the Bengals in week one, but I think Kenneth Walker's a better running back than Zach Moss. Probably no surprise there. I think it's going to be a really good game up in Foxborough, but I'll take the Patriots plus 3.5, and honestly, to win the game outright. Now, Packers-Colts. I feel like Jordan Love's not going to play. Everybody is down on Green Bay. So give me a second here to explain this one. They're going to start Malik Willis. Yes, the same Malik Willis who, when he was given the opportunity in Tennessee, looked out of control a lot, looked like he was there for the vibes, right? Like he was doing his own thing. I think it's a little bit different. Like obviously he went into the game last week just to throw a Hail Mary and he didn't even get the pass off. So that's obviously the last thing that people remember about him from last week. He has a week to prepare. He's going to be the starter. They didn't bring in Ryan Tannehill. They didn't trade for anybody. It's going to be Malik Willis. They're not going to turn a steep. Sean Clifford is Willis. So I think what they're going to want to do, copy what the Patriots did against the Bengals. Run, and run some more. They did not bring in Josh Jacobs to replace Aaron Jones to then go up against a Colts team that, Colts defensively, whatever. But it's in Green Bay. Use Jacobs, go as far as he can take you, and hopefully establish the run so that Malik Willis, you're running, play action boots, where maybe Malik Willis decides to keep it and run. Like you keep it real close to the vest with Malik Willis. Do not get down early and force yourselves to have to drop Malik Willis back like 30 times. You're not going to enjoy that. So I think there is a path for the Packers to win this game, and I actually think they do. So I have them plus 3. But I have a feeling the Packers actually win the game outright. This is another one, Jets-Titans. So I think the Patriots fan in me was like, the Jets stunk it up against the Niners. I like the Titans front and what they could do against the Jets. And I really want to go Titans plus 3.5 here. To be honest with you, before I finally decided on all this, I had the Titans plus 3.5. Actually, on the ball on Tuesday, Integrity Sports Network, I had the Titans plus 3.5 as my upset. So maybe this is me hedging my bet, but part of me thinks I want to change it back, not to be honest with you, because I could see this be a game that the defense does what the Niners did. The Jets struggle. The Jets make it ugly, and maybe it's a 3-point game, but I'm going to go off of the fact that I still kind of think it is an ugly game. I think the Titans will make it very interesting because of their defense. But I'm gonna say that the Jets defense plays better and the Jets get the win. But I'm telling you right now, like I'm not gonna go back and change the pick from on the ball. Like that one's posted on their page. I'm keeping it because there's still part of me that thinks the Titans will do it. But I guess after a day or so, I'm gonna go the Jets on here. Like I said, maybe that's a coward thing for me to not stick with the pick. It's just that thinking about it again, I don't know. I just feel like the Jets cover. I've got the Commanders as a 1.5 favorite over the Giants. I feel like the Giants are the Giants. They're probably gonna stink again. But if you're a Giants fan, you're holding out hope that game on the road, maybe Daniel Jones plays better because you have to worry about Giants fans booing him after like the first incomplete pass. Obviously, he throws incompletions. The crowd's going to cheer for the Commanders, but maybe it helps him to focus in and play better. I don't know, but I'm going to take the Commanders because I just think Jaden Daniels will have a good game with both his arm and his legs, even though the Giants' defense is pretty good. But I'm going to trust Jaden Daniels more than Daniel Jones. I think Dayball's a better coach than Dan Quinn, but I just think the Giants are a mess because of the quarterback position. Would not be surprised if Drew Lock makes an appearance in this game. Probably the second half, but I'll take the Commanders in the 1.5. I got the Rams plus 1.5, traveling to Arizona to face the Cardinals. This is another game I went back and forth on. I'll just say Stafford bounces back, puts up some points against the Cardinals, and I think Kyler Murray has another okay performance, but not enough to beat them, so I'll take the Rams. I've got Chiefs minus 5.5 against the Bengals, even though this is a game that Joe Burrow normally plays lights out in because he really likes playing against Mahomes and these other big-name quarterbacks. Problem is, it's week 2. The Bengals, once again, start slow. I'll take the Chiefs, especially in Arrowhead. Now, once again, I may be wrong on this one, and maybe the Bengals play really tough against the Chiefs, and it's like a back and forth thing, and maybe the Chiefs win it by like a field goal or something. But I just feel like the Bengals will continue to struggle to find their balance in terms of the running game, and I think the Chiefs' defense will make it tough on the Bengals' passing game. So give me the Chiefs in the 5.5. So the Steelers and Broncos is supposed to be the Russ revenge game, but it looks like Russ is going to miss the game again. So you got Justin Fields once again going up against Bo Nix and the Broncos. I kind of think that the Steelers defense will do, I guess, more of the same as they did to the Falcons. So I think this is another game that Justin Fields gets them some field goal drives. Maybe there's a touchdown drive sprinkled in this week, but I think the Steelers defense stymies Bo Nix, and the Steelers get the win, go to 2-0. So give me the Steelers minus the 2.5. I've got Texans minus 6.5 over the Bears. I mean, I'm going to assume Caleb Williams plays better than throwing for 90-something yards. But I also think the Texans know their formula. They're going to stick to what they're going to do. They're going to have C.J. Stroud make some plays. They're going to really rely heavily on Joe Mixon running the ball to loosen up, obviously, for the passing game with Stroud. I think Joe Mixon has another big day. Give me the Texans and the 6.5. Big number, but I think the Texans got it. And then finally, give me the Eagles minus 6.5 on Monday night over the Falcons. Falcons' best bet, Jalen Hurts struggles again. Jalen Hurts didn't play really well on Friday night, going up against Jordan Love and the Packers. The Falcons' defense is good, but I just don't have any faith in the Falcons' offense right now. I think they struggle another week, especially on the road on a Monday night. That Philly crowd's going to be live and in your face. I don't know if the Falcons are ready for that. So I'll take the Eagles and the 6.5. But yeah, my week 2 picks. Now, obviously, you got to let me know what you think about them. They'll obviously be up here, wherever you're watching it. So yeah, like I said, the Jets Titans one is still weighing on me, but I'm gonna stick with this and roll with it. And there you go. That's all I got for you, to be honest with you. So, like I said, if you do like the lies from me, hold on, let me get rid of that. If you do like me doing these lives, I will only know if you give me a like. If you're new, definitely appreciate you. Give me a follow or subscribe, depending on where you're watching this. Like I said, I'm gonna try to do at least one live a week. I did have a lot of fun doing this. I may even do more. I might even do another one this week. Never know. But appreciate you coming in, sticking around with me for a little bit over an hour, tuning in. Uh, appreciate you in the chat, Jory. If you catch this after the fact, all good. You could even leave a comment if you watch it after the fact to let me know you did. Let me know where you're watching from, who your team is, whatever. But I'll go ahead and get out of here. You enjoy the rest of your night. Be safe. God bless. And I'll see you again in the next video. All right. Bye.